I'm Zoe, 16F, and I'm caught in the middle of a family mess that feels like it's spiraling out of control. To really understand what's going on, I need to go back a few years. My parents, Rick, 42M, and Sylvia, 40F, met in college. They were the classic opposites attract couple. Mom was a driven pre-law student, while Dad was a laid-back art major. Somehow, they made it work. They got married right after graduation and had me 2 years later. My brother Ethan, 12M, came along when I was 4. Growing up, our family seemed pretty normal on the surface. Mom became a successful corporate lawyer, and Dad ran a small graphic design business from home. He was the one who usually picked us up from school, made dinner, and helped with homework. Mom worked long hours, but she always made time for our weekend family outings. Looking back, I can see there were cracks forming long before the divorce. Mom and Dad argued a lot about money and Dad's lack of ambition. Mom wanted him to expand his business, but Dad was content with his small client base that let him be home for us kids. There was a lot of tension bubbling under the surface. Everything fell apart 2 years ago when I was 14. Dad had taken on a big new client and was working closely with a new intern, Melissa. Mom got suspicious of how much time they were spending together. She checked Dad's phone one night and found some pretty incriminating texts. The next few months were awful. There was constant screaming and crying. Dad moved out to give Mom space, but we all knew it was over. The divorce was finalized just before my 15th birthday. Mom got primary custody of me and Ethan. We stayed in the family home, while Dad moved into a small apartment across town. At first, we saw him every other weekend, but those visits got less and less frequent. Dad seemed distracted and distant, and I later found out he was still seeing Melissa. Mom threw herself into work after the divorce. She was barely home, leaving me to take care of Ethan most of the time. I resented having to be the responsible one, but I also felt bad for Mom. She seemed so sad and lost. About a year after the divorce, Mom mentioned she'd met someone named Tom, 45M, through a dating app. I was happy she was putting herself out there, but I had no idea how quickly things would move. Tom was a widower with 2 kids of his own, Lily, 14F, and Max, 10M. His wife had died of cancer 3 years earlier. He worked in finance and seemed nice enough the few times we met him, but there was something about him that rubbed me the wrong way. He was very into appearances and status, always talking about his country club membership or his latest luxury purchase. Mom and Tom's relationship moved at warp speed. Within 6 months, they were talking about marriage. I tried to tell Mom I thought it was too soon, that we all needed more time to adjust, but she wouldn't listen. She kept saying Tom was her second chance at happiness and how we needed to embrace our new family. They got married in a lavish ceremony just 9 months after meeting. Mom insisted Ethan and I be part of the wedding party, even though neither of us was comfortable with it. Lily flat out refused to be a bridesmaid, which should have been a red flag, but Mom and Tom ignored it. The real problem started when we all moved in together. Tom sold his house and moved into ours with Lily and Max. Suddenly our quiet home was chaos. Lily made it clear from day one that she hated the situation. She'd slam doors, blast music at all hours, and make snide comments about Mom trying to replace her real mom. Max was quieter about his unhappiness, but it was clear he was struggling. He'd have meltdowns over small things like having to share the bathroom or not liking what was for dinner. Tom would just send him to his room instead of dealing with the underlying issues. Ethan retreated into video games, barely coming out of his room except for school and meals. I tried to talk to him, but he'd just shrug and say everything was fine. As for me, I tried to keep the peace at first. I was polite to Tom and attempted to bond with Lily and Max. But it quickly became clear that Tom and Mom had this fantasy of us all becoming one big happy family overnight, and it just wasn't happening. The worst part was how they kept pushing us to use family terms we weren't comfortable with. Tom would introduce us as his kids, and Mom insisted we call him Dad. She wanted us to refer to Lily and Max as our siblings, even though we'd only known them a few months. I explained multiple times that while I was okay with Tom as Mom's husband, he wasn't my dad. I had a dad, even if things were complicated with him right now. Mom would get frustrated and say I was being difficult on purpose, that I needed to get with the program for the sake of family unity. Things came to a head last weekend at my cousin Emma's wedding. We were all there as a family, and Tom kept introducing me to relatives and family friends as his daughter. I corrected him politely the first few times, but he didn't stop. The breaking point came when he did it in front of my actual dad, who was also at the wedding. I saw the hurt look on Dad's face, and I just snapped. I loudly said, "I'm not your daughter. I have a dad and it's not you." There was this awful silence and everyone was staring at us. My mom looked mortified and quickly ushered us out of there. In the car, she laid into me about how I'd embarrassed her and ruined the wedding. Tom was silent the whole ride home, but he was clearly furious. When we got home, Mom told me I was grounded for a month, no phone, no internet except for schoolwork, and no seeing friends. I pointed out that I was supposed to stay at Dad's the following weekend. She said she'd already called him to cancel. I was so angry that I snuck Ethan's phone and called Dad anyway. When I told him what happened, he was livid. He said Mom had no right to cancel his visitation and that if she tried to keep me from coming over, he'd take her back to court. Now the whole house is in chaos. Mom and Tom are barely speaking to me. Lily seems weirdly happy about the drama, making comments about how she knew this wouldn't work out. Max is confused and keeps asking if he did something wrong. Ethan is stressed out and keeps asking if we're going to have to move again. I overheard Mom crying to her sister on the phone about how ungrateful I am and how I'm tearing the family apart. But I don't think I did anything wrong. Tom isn't my dad, period. And I'm sick of pretending to be one big happy family when we're clearly not. I feel like I'm drowning in this situation. I miss how things used to be, even if they weren't perfect. I miss having my mom to myself sometimes. I miss when Dad was around more. I even miss fighting with just Ethan instead of having to navigate step-sibling drama. Part of me wants to ask Dad if I can live with him full-time, but I worry about leaving Ethan behind. And despite everything, I don't want to hurt Mom. I know she's been through a lot with the divorce and is trying to build a new life. But I feel like she's steamrolling over my feelings in the process. I don't know what to do. Am I the asshole for speaking up at the wedding? Should I just go along with what Mom and Tom want for the sake of keeping the peace? Or do I stand my ground and risk causing more family drama? I feel lost and could really use some outside perspective on all of this. Update 1. It's been about 2 weeks since the wedding incident, and somehow things have managed to get even more complicated and messy. The day after I posted, my dad showed up at our house to pick me up for the weekend as planned. I was upstairs packing a bag when I heard raised voices from the front yard. I looked out the window to see Dad arguing with Mom and Tom. Mom was trying to physically block Dad from coming to the door, saying I was grounded and couldn't go with him. Dad was saying she had no right to interfere with his court-mandated visitation time. Tom was trying to play peacemaker, but he was just making everyone angrier. I grabbed my bag and went downstairs. When I opened the front door, Mom turned to me with tears in her eyes and said, "Zoe, please don't do this. We need to work this out as a family." I looked at Dad, who simply said, "It's your choice, kiddo." At that moment, Ethan came down the stairs. He looked at the scene in front of him and quietly asked, "Can I come too?" Mom lost it at that point. She started yelling about how we were choosing that cheater over our real family. Tom tried to calm her down, but she shrugged him off. I made a split-second decision. I told Ethan to go pack a bag. Mom tried to stop him, but Dad stepped between them. He told Mom that if she tried to keep either of us from going with him, he'd call his lawyer immediately. We left with Dad while Mom cried on the front steps and Tom awkwardly tried to comfort her. The car ride to Dad's apartment was silent and tense. Once we got there, Dad sat us down for a long talk. He admitted that he had messed up badly with the affair and that he regretted how much he'd hurt all of us. But he also helped me see that Mom's behavior wasn't okay either. He said he'd support me if I wanted to change our custody arrangement and live with him full-time. We spent the weekend at Dad's place, which was actually really nice. It was calm and drama-free. We ordered pizza, watched movies, and just hung out. Ethan seemed happier than I'd seen him in months. When Sunday night came, Ethan begged to stay with Dad. Dad gently explained that he had to go back to Mom's because of the custody agreement, but promised we'd figure something out soon. Dropping Ethan back at Mom's was hard. She was waiting at the door and immediately pulled him into a hug, glaring at Dad over Ethan's head. I decided to go in too, figuring I needed to face the music sometime. The atmosphere in the house was ice cold. Mom and Tom barely acknowledged me. Lily made some snide comment about me running back to Daddy, which almost led to a physical fight between us. Max just looked scared and confused by it all. The next day at school was a nightmare. I found out that Lily had been spreading vicious rumors about me. She told people that the real reason I didn't want to call Tom my dad was because I was sleeping with one of our teachers, Mr. Peterson. It was completely insane and obviously not true, but some people actually believed it. I ended up in the principal's office trying to explain the whole mess. Thankfully, they seemed to believe me, but they said they'd have to investigate the rumors because of the seriousness of the accusation. I was mortified at the thought of Mr. Peterson finding out about this. When I got home that afternoon, I confronted Lily about the rumors. She denied everything at first, then admitted it but said I deserved it for how I treated her dad. We got into a screaming match that ended with her throwing a book at my head. Tom came in and, to my shock, sided completely with Lily. He told me I needed to apologize to her for provoking her. That's when I lost it and told him exactly what I thought of him and his parenting. Mom came home in the middle of all this and completely flipped out. She started ranting about how I was tearing the family apart and turning everyone against each other. Then she dropped a bombshell: she's pregnant. I was in shock. I asked her how far along she was, and she admitted she was already 4 months pregnant, meaning she got pregnant just a month after marrying Tom. She'd been hiding it this whole time. Apparently that's why she's been so adamant about us all becoming one big happy family. She and Tom want the new baby to have a real family unlike me and him. Those were her exact words, and they hurt more than I can explain. I couldn't deal with it anymore. I called my dad and asked if I could come stay with him for a while. He came and got me that night. Mom was crying and begging me not to go, saying I was abandoning the family when she needed me most. But I just couldn't stay in that house anymore. So now I'm at Dad's place. We're looking into changing the custody agreement so I can live here full-time. Mom keeps calling and leaving tearful voicemails about how sorry she is and how she just wants her family back together. Tom sent me this long text about how he knows he's not my real dad but he cares about me and wants to make things work. I don't know what to do about any of it. I feel guilty for leaving Ethan behind, but I just couldn't take it anymore. Dad says we can look into getting custody of Ethan too if that's what he wants, but I worry about how that would affect Mom, especially with the pregnancy. Part of me wants to give Mom and Tom another chance for the sake of the new baby. I don't want my little brother or sister to grow up in a broken home like I did. But another part of me is so angry and hurt by everything that's happened. I'm supposed to go back to Mom's this weekend to talk things out, but I'm dreading it. I don't know if this family can ever be fixed, and I'm not sure I even want to try anymore. Am I wrong for feeling this way? Update 2. It's been about a month since my last update, and a lot has changed. I'm still living with my dad full-time. We went to court and got the custody agreement officially changed. Mom fought it at first, but eventually gave in when the judge made it clear that at my age, my preference would be taken into account. Living with Dad has been really good for me. It's so much calmer and drama-free. We're actually talking and connecting in a way we haven't since before the divorce. He's been super supportive about everything, even helping me navigate the aftermath of Lily's rumors at school. The situation with Mom is still complicated. She calls almost every day, alternating between apologizing and guilt-tripping me about abandoning the family. I've started limiting our conversations because they always leave me feeling drained and confused. Tom reached out a couple of times to apologize for how he handled things, especially the incident with Lily and the rumors. He seems genuinely sorry, but I'm not ready to forgive him yet. I told him I appreciate the apology but I need some time and space. The biggest change is with my siblings. Ethan has been struggling a lot since I left. He's been acting out at school and at home. Last week, he called me crying and begging to come live with me and Dad. He said he feels lost in the chaos at Mom's house and that no one pays attention to him anymore. I talked to Dad about it, and he said he'd be open to having Ethan come stay with us if that's what Ethan wants. We decided to broach the subject with Mom during our next visitation weekend. When we brought it up, Mom completely lost it. She accused Dad of trying to steal both her children and said we were destroying her chance at having a real family. She threatened to take us back to court and even said she'd move away with Tom and the new baby so we couldn't interfere anymore. That's when Ethan dropped the bombshell. He told Mom that if she tried to keep him from living with me and Dad, he'd tell everyone about how he caught her cheating on Tom with her ex-boyfriend from college. Apparently, he saw them kissing at a gas station a few weeks ago when Mom thought he was asleep in the backseat. Mom went white as a sheet and started crying. Tom overheard and stormed out of the house. He hasn't been back in 3 days. Last I heard, he's staying with his sister and considering filing for divorce. Lily and Max are staying with their mom for now. Surprisingly, Lily actually reached out to apologize for spreading rumors about me. She said she was just angry and jealous because she felt like her dad was trying to replace her with a new family. We're not best friends or anything, but things are better between us. So now everything's up in the air again. Ethan is coming to live with me and Dad. We're working on getting the custody agreement changed for him too. Mom is a mess, crying all the time, barely getting out of bed. The pregnancy is high risk now because of all the stress. Tom isn't sure if he's going to come back or not. I feel guilty for my part in all of this, but I also feel like it was all bound to come out eventually. Mom and Tom rushed into this marriage and tried to force a blended family that none of us were ready for. Now it's all falling apart. I don't know what's going to happen with the new baby or if this family will ever be able to come together again. Right now, I'm just focusing on settling in with Dad and helping Ethan adjust to living with us. Am I wrong for feeling relieved to be out of that situation, even though it's caused so much pain for everyone else? Update 3. It's been 6 months since my last update, and I'm finally starting to feel like things are stabilizing. Ethan and I are still living with Dad full-time. It's been really good for both of us. Ethan's grades have improved, and he's much happier overall. He's even joined the school soccer team, something he'd been wanting to do for years but never felt he had time for with all the family drama. Dad has really stepped up and is being the parent we both needed. He's more involved in our school lives, comes to all of Ethan's games, and we have weekly family dinners where we actually talk about our days. Mom gave birth to a baby girl, Sophia, 2 months ago. The pregnancy was difficult due to all the stress, but thankfully the baby is healthy. It was touch and go for a while. Mom had to be on bed rest for the last 2 months, which added to the tension in the house. Tom decided to stay and try to work things out with Mom. They're in couples counseling now. From what I've heard, it's been pretty intense, but they seem committed to making it work. I've been visiting Mom and the baby every other weekend. It's still awkward, but we're slowly rebuilding our relationship. She's apologized multiple times for trying to force the blended family situation and for not listening to my feelings. I can tell she's really trying to change. She's even started seeing a therapist on her own to work through her issues. The first time I held Sophia, I was worried I'd resent her, but I fell in love instantly. She's innocent in all of this, and I want to be a good big sister to her. It's weird to think that she'll grow up in such a different family situation than I did, but I'm determined to be there for her. Lily and Max are back living with Tom and Mom part-time. It's been an adjustment for everyone, but things are slowly improving. Lily and I have actually become closer through all of this. We text pretty regularly now and she's come to stay with me and Dad a couple of times when things get tense at Mom's house. We've bonded over the shared experience of dealing with all this family drama. Max is still struggling a bit, but he's in therapy now, which seems to be helping. Tom and I have reached a kind of truce. I still don't call him Dad, but I'm civil when I'm at their house. He's been making an effort to respect my boundaries, which I appreciate. He's stopped trying to force a father-daughter relationship and instead is focusing on just being a positive adult figure in my life. Dad has started dating again, which was weird at first, but I'm getting used to it. His girlfriend, Laura, is really nice and doesn't try to act like a mom to us, which I appreciate. She comes over for dinner sometimes and even came to one of Ethan's soccer games. It's early days, but it's nice to see Dad happy again. School has gotten better too. The rumors Lily spread eventually died down, and most people have forgotten about it. I've made some new friends who don't know all the family drama, which has been refreshing. Overall, things aren't perfect, but they're so much better than they were. I'm glad I stood my ground and didn't let Mom and Tom force me into a family dynamic I wasn't comfortable with. It was messy and painful, but I think in the long run it was for the best. Everyone is getting the help and support they need now. I'm focusing on finishing high school strong and looking at colleges now. For the first time in a long time, I'm excited about the future instead of dreading it. Dad and I are planning college visits for next month, and even Mom has been supportive of my plans. There are still hard days. Sometimes I feel guilty about how everything went down, or I worry about Sophia growing up in this complicated family situation. But then I remind myself that families come in all shapes and sizes, and what matters is that she's surrounded by people who love her. I'm learning that it's okay to set boundaries, even with family. It's okay to prioritize my own mental health and happiness. And it's okay that our family doesn't look like the perfect blended family Mom and Tom initially wanted. We're all figuring it out as we go, and that's okay too. Thank you to everyone who offered advice and support throughout this whole ordeal. It really helped me stay strong and true to myself. If anyone else is going through a similar situation, just know that it does get better. It might take time and it might be messy, but you'll get through it.